Hey gang, it's JC and this is the Daily Dose for Monday, September 26, 2011, a combined venture with Mind Active in beautiful downtown Brentwood. We have great television archives at the top of the page. We have our eye candy feature along the bottom and our rock and roll poll question off in the corner. I'm leaning in very, very close here today because a couple of you wrote, I got a new HD camera here and it just picks up every little facial imperfection, and I don't wear any makeup for this stuff. Come on, it's just us talking here. But one guy said, maybe you should get a little further away from the camera. So lean it in. Have a good look, sir. It doesn't get any better than this, okay? And I want to see a picture of you before you start complaining about the way I look, okay? Because I got a hunch. Anyhow, rock and roll poll question. This was a great question for a Friday because, anybody can talk about the most lovely little pet they ever had, a little Pomeranian. It's like, I want to hear Cujo stories, all right? So what's the worst pet you've ever had? The worst pet you've ever had. And we have a first place tie between cats and other, because hamster rodent came in right behind at 20%, dog 16%, bird at 12%, 8% of you have rabbit stories, and 3% of you got a bad story about a horse. But it's other right behind cats. So I'm thinking snakes. I already got birds in there, so I'm just guessing snakes, or maybe like one of those Vietnamese pot-bellied pigs, I'm guessing is the problem. All right, on to today's rock and roll poll question. And this is very timely because I got to be honest with you here. I've been spoiled rotten. I get to go to movie screenings. I don't go to the show. I don't go to the movies. I get to go to screenings, which means, I walk in, we got a nice big theater. They give us free food and drinks. You get to see the movie a month before anybody else. Theater's not crowded. We don't have to wait in any lines. We don't get charged. We don't get charged for tickets. So we got a 2-year-old, so it's been a long time since I've paid to go see a movie. I had no idea tickets were $10. No idea tickets were $10. And we had a guy who went to see Moneyball. We're going to talk about that on the show tomorrow. The Big 550 KTRS, where Trish Gazelle and I reside every day from noon until 3. And Eric Mink and I, who's in on Tuesday, Eric and I are going to have a really interesting discussion about this. Siskel and Ebert. And I thought the world of both of those guys. And I got to know Gene very, very well. And Roger, I've gotten to know a little bit. And those guys were great together, too. The best line was, Gene Siskel used to make fun of Roger all the time. He'd say, the show used to end with, until then the balcony is closed. And Gene Siskel would say, but looking at Roger, obviously the concession stand is still open. And he would also say that the producers of Siskel and Ebert at the movies will not let Roger wear brown because on camera he looks like a mudslide. This is great stuff. All right, so anyhow, but Siskel and Ebert used to say, watching a movie in a theater is going to the movies. Watching a movie on television at home is watching TV. But I'm not so sure anymore. I don't know. You got 50, 60, and bigger inch flat screen, high definition, Blu-ray TVs and, Blu-ray players and stuff. And you sit down and you've got these incredible images. It's not like you're watching on a 36-inch television anymore. So it is actually, I've been in some of these cineplexes where the movie screen is not a hell of a lot bigger than a couple of really elaborate big screen TVs that I've seen. So I think that line is starting to get a little fuzzy here as to whether or not watching a movie at home is watching television. That all having been said, we have to see Moneyball on Saturday night. Got an old guy sitting in front of me, and about, half hour, 40 minutes into the movie, he disappears for a couple of minutes. And when he comes back, this guy clearly had been drinking and apparently didn't get it all in his mouth, because this guy is one of these guys who apparently didn't take a bath for a couple of days, and he was just this old stinking ass drunk, and he was sitting right in front of us. My wife and I sat there with stuff over our noses for the last hour and a half of the movie because this guy was putting out such a stench. You couldn't believe it. Now, you can't go to an usher and say, I want my money back because this guy stinks. I don't think they'll let you get away with that. Well, what do? You just got to sit there and just sort of take it. So now it comes back to our rock and roll poll question today. See, there was a point in all of this. So which is better, really, when it comes down to it? The entertainment and the excitement value of seeing a first-run movie in a theater despite the cost and the problems that you could encounter. So, so you got to pay a little money, you got to get a babysitter in some cases, and you got to fight traffic and park the car, and then you got to be herded in there, and you got to find a seat. Maybe the seat's not what you really want, and everything's really expensive, but you are seeing a first-run movie in a theater, and it's what's happening now. So is that better? Or is the convenience of waiting 6 months and seeing that same movie on your big screen HD TV in the comfort of your own home, eating the food you want to eat, not a bunch of this popcorn with this 30 weight they pour all over it, and they charge you $14 for a bag of popcorn and $6 for a drink and all that sort of stuff. So which is better? You go to the theater and you see the movie when it's current, or you wait 6 months, you see it at home on a big screen TV, high def, in your own home. Which is better, home or theater? Answer that question. I cannot wait to hear what your response is to this, and I have a hunch that this is going to be a very spirited conversation between me and Eric Bink and you guys tomorrow in the 1 o'clock hour on the Big 550 KTRS. I don't know what to tell you about the Rams. All I know is I keep going back to my Randy Carricker story. Randy, sorry to have to do this to you, but I saw you a couple of months ago, and I said the Rams, I didn't make a prediction, but I said, I think there's a possibility, and I will not be surprised if the Rams start the season 0-6. Well, I'm halfway there. Randy's like, oh, get out of here. No way. No way. Well, I'm halfway there, Randy, and you tell me who the Rams are going to beat and when, and I might have to revise it anyhow because the way I'm looking at things, it might be an 0-7 start. And by the way, it doesn't mean that the Rams stink, although they didn't look good yesterday. But this was a tough schedule. By the way, did you know that Michael Oher, the guy from The Blind Side, was playing for Baltimore yesterday? He got 2 penalties called on him, by the way. The baby turned 2 over the weekend, so I went to one of those big party stores, one of those giant party stores. I mean, it's like the size of a Kmart, and they've got all this stuff in there. By the way, you can get anything. There's just aisles full of stuff for a first birthday. Nothing for a second birthday. Nothing for the second birthday. It's like, all right, the kid is 1. You're basically out of luck until she turns 16. So I don't know what the deal is with that. So I go in there, and there's total chaos in this party store. And there's just kids, teenage, high school kids just sort of standing around the cash register, and everybody's just sort of being cool, and it didn't seem like anybody was running the place. And then I'm going down the halls and down the aisles, there's kids like throwing Super Balls and stuff, like the length of the place, back and forth. And I'm thinking to myself, is anybody running this place? So now I go up to the counter because I'm getting balloons, Mylar balloons and some other stuff for the baby's birthday. And I'm standing there, and I sort of put my order in, and the woman says, I'll be right back, and disappears for 10 minutes. Right? Now she comes back, and it's just like the place looks like a community center when the advisor is just out having a smoke break or something. And so I get my balloons, and I leave the place, and as I'm walking out, 4 police officers come walking in, and they start, and I'm not even sure what was going on in there, but I do not know what is going on in retail. Oh man, I've officially become my grandfather, haven't I? Was yesterday the last time you will see Albert Pujols in St. Louis in a Cardinal uniform? I don't know, that was a pretty interesting ovation that the Cardinal Nation gave him yesterday in his first at bat. That was very, very interesting. Speaking of sports, the Chicago Bears won the Super Bowl back in 1986. The 85 Bears, they win it in 86. And they were scheduled to go to the White House, as is every Super Bowl winning team. And then the Challenger exploded. Remember the space shuttle thing blew up? Well, the Bears had to cancel their appearance at the White House, and it never got rescheduled. So the 85 Bears got gypped out of their trip to the White House. Well, probably because of the president's Chicago connections. The 85 Bears are going to get their trip to the White House in a couple of weeks. Now, a couple of them are dead, and a couple of them are not in good shape. I'm not even sure that the fridge, William Perry, I don't even think he can travel anymore. Dave Duerson is dead, and a couple of other guys like that. So an interesting little story, though, but eventually, it took a long time, but the Chicago Bears are going to get their trip to the White House. All right, Jason Alexander, Seinfeld. He's mysteriously grown hair. Wait till you see pictures of him. It didn't even look like the same guy. And Oprah and Rosie, there's a big flap because somebody says that in the picture with Oprah and Rosie on the cover of Vogue magazine, that Oprah had them Photoshop her but left Rosie fat, and she's mad about this. I wish I had their problems. Speaking of fat, did you see Alec Baldwin hosting Saturday Night Live over the weekend? And what happened to about 50 pounds that was on that guy? What did he do? I swear, now he's got a young girlfriend. He's got a girlfriend who's like 28 or something. And that probably is the reason why. But how did this dude lose 50 pounds since the last time we saw him? That dead 6-ton satellite crashed into Earth on Friday night. Speaking of huge, unpredictable, lifeless objects, Nancy Grace will be back on the air on Dancing with the Stars this week. And Republican presidential candidate Herb Cain won the straw poll in Florida, so now all the other candidates are asking to see his birth certificate. Sly Stone, as in Sly and the Family Stone, living in his camper somewhere in the south, in Los Angeles. But he's not necessarily technically homeless. Apparently he likes living this way. Says he'll never live in a house again. And the trial of Dr. Conrad Murray, who they think killed Michael Jackson, that begins tomorrow. Ron Paul on The Daily Show tonight with Jon Stewart. Could be interesting. And there are 90 days until Christmas. All right, JC's Eye Candy today. You got all these brick and mortar bookstores going out of business. So the staff at one of these going out of business stores at at a Borders store, they hang up a sign basically saying, giving all the reasons that they really didn't like the people who came into the bookstore. It's hilarious, and at the same time, sort of like, wow, what the hell was going on there? Stuff like, we greatly dislike the phrase quick question. It's never true, and everyone seems to have one. Or we always knew that when you were intently reading Better Homes and Gardens, it was actually hiding a Playboy magazine, stuff like that. There's a whole list of them there, so you can read that. JC's Eye Candy, right below what you're looking at right now. All right, JC's Rock and Roll poll today. So what's better? You go to the theater, you see a first-run movie, you got to pay a lot for everything, and the conditions might not be perfect, but at least you're seeing that movie when it's first coming out. Or you wait 6 months, you have complete control of the situation, you got a big HD TV, you sit in your living room, and is that better? I can't wait to see the response on this. Please answer our rock and roll poll question. We'll have results for you tomorrow. That's it, JC's Daily Dose for Monday, September 26, 2011, a combined venture with Mind Active in beautiful downtown Brentwood. Trish and I are on the air every day on the Big 550 KTRS from noon until 3. In the meantime, we've beaten this one to death. Have a good one. See you later. Bye.